Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today's video is going to be me trying my best to answer the question, will winter arrive early this year, 2018-2019? I've gotten this question many times in the comment section box below, and I haven't really answered a lot of comments in the past couple of weeks. I've been busy and my channel has been getting quite a bit of comments, and I can't get to all of them, so I really do appreciate reading your comments, so please consider commenting still. Don't give up just because I stopped replying. It's just tough to do so sorry about that, but hopefully this video will answer your questions. However, if you like to support, before we get into this video, if you like to support my channel, consider subscribing to this channel. All you gotta do is hit this subscribe button, not this one, it's down below, and if you scroll down and you're subscribed, so really consider doing that. It helps my channel grow, so thank you for that. Let's move on to the actual video now, and we'll be talking about these main four factors: ENSO outlook or ENSO outlook. We'll be talking about analogs, and I'll explain what all of this is while we're at it. I just want to explain it now. We'll be looking at NOAA's seasonal outlook, and that's only, I wrote possibility there for NOAA's seasonal outlook because I wasn't sure if I'm going to get to that point. If I was, just depending on the time, so we'll see whether I'll have time for that to fit that in. I think we will, though. And we'll also be looking at the next 8 to 14 day outlook for the US, and I actually switched that because I made this a couple days ago. I'll actually switch that. I just did switch that to just the month of October outlook, and that actually will tell us quite a bit, even though it's just a month in advance. So first off, we'll look at the ENSO outlook. So ENSO neutral, I'll tell you all what that means in a minute, is favored through October 2018, with El Nino favored thereafter. So they have decreased still a little bit, 65 to 70, and they have extended the neutral period for a little bit. So I do think still the El Nino will happen, but there's just so much catches in these two sentences that there are so many different variations that could occur. I would really want to talk about this, so that's what we're going to talk about now. A ENSO neutral winter pattern. That's what could occur anywhere from August through October. And realize this says winter, not fall. So winter pattern, we're not in winter. And when I'm talking about winter arriving, hopefully you will understand this. Winter doesn't necessarily arrive during winter. Winter arrives whenever it wants to, and typically most of you would agree that for about 85% of the United States, it definitely starts feeling winterish around October or November, and by December it's just winter. So we first need to define when does winter arrive, and by my standards, when I made this video, I made it around October through December, in that time frame. So this is ENSO neutral winter pattern. You can see cold across the north, wet and warm across the south, and if we look at an El Nino, I'll show you what the fall pattern looks in a minute. If we look at an El Nino, which was here written as to occur after October during the northern hemisphere winter, you could see that an El Nino looks something like this. So this is again for the winter, so this is not going to be accurate for the months after October, but you can see it's warm across the north, it's dry across the north, it's wet and cool across the south. So a bit different from what they were showing at the neutral, but the differences are there, but it doesn't really apply because we're talking about fall, because winter arrives typically in late fall. So I needed to make my own patterns based off these graphs and anomalies that I have made, and this is what sort of it looks like. So you can see that this is composite anomalies. I chose a bunch of years and the time frame of those certain years, so you can see sorry this keeps popping up, but it says October to December of years 2014, 2015, 1987, I think, and one more year. And this is based on the average of the years from 1981 to 2010. And you can see that for fall, October through December, these are all El Nino years, by the way, that 2014, 2015, during El Nino fall, where winter typically arrives, late fall temperatures look something like this, much above average for much of the country, maybe parts of the south, typically or a little bit below average or around average at the maximum. And if you look at the neutral during September to October, and again, it's September to October because we are assuming that what is ENCO saying, what this is saying, is true. So again, that may not be true by itself. So what it shows right here is September through October. These are all years of neutral years that occurred, and that is fall of neutral years. This is what it looks like, and what we're expecting during September and October, according to the ENCO outlook, is neutral conditions. So this is what we're going to expect according to that, or our best chance of saying that. So either way, fall should be fairly warm. However, there's something we got to assume, or we could do even farther, some kind of like a catch. So remember, the El Nino, it just said an El Nino will form. Let's go back to that. Sorry, I keep going back, but with an El Nino, the thing is, there are several different types of El Ninos, and there is something called an El Nino Modoki. And this is an El Nino Modoki, assuming that the neutral would happen during that time frame, and then for the El Nino one, October through December, instead of an El Nino, which could happen, an El Nino Modoki would happen, which again could happen. And this is what it would look like. So October through December, these are all El Nino Modoki years. And as you could see, still very warm across much of the country, regardless of whether it's an El Nino neutral, Modoki El Nino, even a weak El Nino would probably show above average conditions for much of the United States. So this is very one-sided. There could be a lot of different outcomes, but those different outcomes lead to kind of a similar path, if you know what I mean. So this is what an El Nino Modoki is, and if you're wondering what an El Nino Modoki is, if you're wondering what even an El Nino is, scientists, meteorologists determine an El Nino based off warmer waters right off the coast of South America. They're called sea surface temperatures, and they, during an El Nino, need to be above average. So you can see this is above average. This is called an eastern-based El Nino. Now, in El Nino Modoki, you can see there are some differences. It's cooler right off the coast, central base. That's why it's called a central-based El Nino, also known as El Nino Modoki, because the waters are centered, the warm waters, I should say, are centered in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and cooler by the by the East Asia region. So we look. You may be wondering, okay, what does this give us? Well, we could now compare these, what give us El Nino Modoki and what give us El Nino to what we have right now, which is this. So, it may not look like anything, to be honest, and at this point, we could go either way. That's my point with this. I'm not saying an El Nino Modoki will form. I'm not saying an El Nino will form for sure. But what I'm saying is, from this map, we basically don't know whether an El Nino will occur or an El Nino Modoki, so it makes sense that we have the same right to assume an El Nino Modoki will happen than the same chances that an El Nino would happen. We are basically split between these two. I mean, there are some things that are indicating more of an El Nino, so let's compare to this. El Nino, warm waters. You can see warm waters and warm waters off the coast, but during an El Nino Modoki, you could see they're not as powerful as shown here. So again, they're not as powerful. They are warmer, so it's definitely going to be some kind of El Nino. But let's look at some other regions of the world during an El Nino Modoki. Let's look at Hudson Bay, this large mass of water in Canada. It's typically below average during an El Nino Modoki, and you can see it's below average for at least the eastern half. During an El Nino Modoki, south of Greenland, it's cooler than average in terms of water. You can see it's cooler than average. Let's go off the east coast, warmer. It is warmer. So there's just so many things that are going on that could be going either the El Nino Modoki way or an El Nino. And like I just showed you, the outcomes aren't going to be too unsimilar. I mean, you can see they're all going to be fairly similar. El Nino Modoki would produce the coolest temperatures, but they wouldn't necessarily be cool. So there's a lot of differences, a lot of different ways we can go at this, and I won't show you the precip actually with this. I would show you the precipitation amounts, the precipitation outlook, but at this point, the chances for a warm fall are fairly high, and with them being fairly high, I just don't think it's necessary to show you the precipitation because the temperatures themselves show that that snowfall will be limited in the first place. So precip, I will show you, I think, for the month of October. I have right here. So actually, no, this is October, November, December. So now we're moving on to NOAA's seasonal outlook factor. And you can see that they have warmer than average conditions for basically the whole United States, maybe some parts of the southeast around equal chances. In Alaska, very warm as well. The problem is that they may be actually right, which many people don't like, especially the snow lovers, but they may be a little bit over-exaggerating this, and, NOAA isn't always right. Just because they're a government-sponsored organization doesn't mean they're always going to be right. So, again, there are some errors in this, and this could still change. I think they're over-exaggerating the warmth, but I definitely think it's a fair bet that fall will be warm this year. We're looking at some of the precip outlook. This is for October, November, December, which is within those 3 months. Winter will definitely arrive depending on where you are. And you can see above average precip for along the east coast, south, and along the southwestern Four Corners area. And then right here in the northwest, below average precip. There's one more thing, however. There was this one part of the forecast where it was 8 to 14 day outlook. Well, as I said, I changed it to October because it was more, I just realized that we could, you just use October instead of 8 to 14 days and it would be better. You can see that a lot of the country is equal chances or even slightly below average. So, again, these areas, especially across the north, during this time frame, October, May, yet their winter may arrive in those areas. So it may arrive, it may arrive early, then back off for like November when it's going to be warmer, and then go back, whether it's going to be an El Nino Madokai or anything, they might, come back as winter. So winter may arrive a little bit prematurely across these northern states because of these below average conditions for at least October, and then back off and then kind of go back into the cycle, if you know what I mean. So this is something to look at, but the west, not really looking good. Alaska, not either. Southeast, at this point, nothing's really showing of them getting winter in October, maybe November at the earliest. And now time for my final outlook. So drum roll, please. And this is what I think will happen. So, again, it's not the best map, but it's the quality of the forecast, not the quality of the map. I'll try going through this quickly because I've tried making this video a little bit shorter. So, I'll explain what color means one by one. This pink color is basically the highest chances of seeing an early winter this year. Again, I'm saying highest chances because I'm not saying they necessarily will have an early winter. Just compared to the rest of the United States this year, they'll have an earliest winter or the early winter. And those areas, due to the fact that, again, October may be chillier, and that's when winter could arrive. So the next phase is this light purple-ish, this dark purple color. That's where some of this cold air, it has a fairly high chance of seeing the winter approaching that area, but it's a little bit further south, and those areas aren't as confident. It's mainly this area that could be receiving the cold. And in this light purple, there could be some cold shots that that could last, maybe even during late October, they could bring in some bigger colder shots, and it could bring in a couple of snowflakes and some below average temperatures and even frost, and that could indicate winter arriving. So I think that is definitely possible with that, especially since we're seeing that pattern form. Looking at the south, this giant blue area, I think they have the good chance of seeing a regular on average winter, but I think overall it's not really about the early winter. I think they may see a fairly good winter, but not in terms of the earliness of it. So this may not be your strong side if you live in this part of the nation. And then if you look at this sandy color, I think you'll have the worst chance of seeing an early winter. So that is that. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. Always remember to consider subscribing to my channel. Consider liking the video. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next episode.